Wow. Look at this magnificent place full of all kinds of good orky goodness. And me being also full of orky goodness. Do you see? Do you see? This is Boar Hugger. He waved to you. But yes, no, this is Boar Hugger. He's my new black orc. And I really love him. He's very fun. I've been playing him a bit. I was trying to get into a scenario and then it closed out, or I was kind of in a different window, and I did not see that I had gotten the thing. So now I am stuck here in this infinite realm of dwarfy orc things. But that's perfectly fine. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about what I kind of love about being an orc. You see, recently I've been playing a lot of different factions in Warhammer Armies projects. I just recently had a game where I was playing as Ogre Kingdoms versus Wood Elves, and that was a lot of fun. I kind of stomped them. I had a big warrior mammoth or a big ice mammoth, and the ice mammoth was kind of a lot of fun to use. But there's an ability the ice mammoth has where if you like roll a 5 on its attack, you just automatically win the combat, and it's kind of interesting because you're just like so big, so that's kind of fun. But yeah, no, it ended up going really in my favor. I did end up losing the ice mammoth in the end though, so that was unfortunate, but it's okay. We can get another one. But Ogre Tyler was like, "Oh, we're gonna go get that one. Oh," that's what he said. But yeah, I've been enjoying being an orc, and I've been reading Age of Sigmar stuff and learning about orcs in Age of Sigmar, or as the copyright people want you to say, orruks. And I have to say, there is something just inherently kind of satisfying about just like, at least to me, about like the primal nature of destruction and the primal nature of smashing chaos with like a big choppa or a big whacka. Oh, magic teleportation. Whoop whoop. But yeah, I was enjoying that, and I've been kind of just enjoying like the idea of messing around with orcs because I was trying to figure out what factions I would really like to play for Age of Sigmar because I'm really not big on chaos, as I just did a video explaining that I'm not big on chaos, and I'm not really big on a lot of the order factions either. For instance, Ideneth Thiefkin I'm not really big on. I think Lumineth are kind of cool, but I don't really like that they have that whole mind control type thing going on with non-Lumineth. I'm not really big on that whole thing. And eventually I just got to the idea that I really enjoy just or I really do have something within me that just enjoys like destruction and breaking things and like defying boundaries and things like that. And I mean, maybe this has to go do with my like whole love of gories, for instance, where like I really like that they transcend boundaries. Do those spiky things ever jab you in like the side of the head? I guess they're not that bad. I guess that it's just that she keeps turning. Okay, so let me. Okay, never mind. Whatever, they're gonna do their cane stuff. But no, just the idea of occasionally just taking a big choppa and smashing something, or being an ogre and just being a really large lad, and stomping through and eating and stuff like that. I really enjoy that, and I was really enjoying recently just being an orc in this game, and I was just running around smashing things, exploring the city, enjoying mushrooms. That's one of the really nice things about being an orc is that you can always enjoy mushrooms. So if you like mushrooms, hey, there you go. And in Warhammer Fantasy, I really like being an orc because then I can go be friends with night goblins, and the night goblins can make fun potions, and we can drink them together. And then I'll be like, and I think that's a lot of fun. But no, I think one of my biggest attractions to like orcs and ogres, and maybe I'll just kind of talk about both, but mostly focus on orcs, is I just like that inherent kind of destruction and like, as an example, I like dwarves, right? Especially in Warhammer Fantasy, and I like the Caradron Overlords. I don't really like Fire Slayers too much, but like, they're okay still. The thing about um, dwarves in Warhammer Fantasy is that their society is so inherently conservative. I know that someone like me would just completely chafe against it and not really like living as a dwarf. I wouldn't really like living in a dwarf hold where everything is based on like, oh, these ancient ideas of honor and pride, and oh, what did our ancestors do? Our ancestors had the best answers, even though they lost the holds and died a bunch and clearly weren't advancing fast enough to keep up with the changes in their society and environment. But whatever. I don't like the conservative nature of it. I don't like that. I mean, like this is pretty, but like I like that they just like decide to just shove stuff on top of it. Like I like this sort of punk aspect of taking um like all this other stuff that was around and like turning it to your own um gain. And don't get me wrong, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of everything being kind of dirty, but I do inherently like um just like the kind of the silliness of the orcs as well, and like the fact that they don't take things very seriously. Huh. I'll buy these because I'm almost certain I have a quest that I can get for them around here somewhere. But and I like that. I like the kind of the savage nature of it. Like just the idea of just this kind of simplistic life in some ways. Now, of course, I'm not really fit for that in a wide variety of ways. For instance, I think too much and I ultimately still want to be a good guy. Smashing chaos, for instance, is very appealing, but smashing dwarves is a little less appealing. I mean, it can have its own appeal in a way, but like, like I don't want to invade like the empire really unless I can replace it with a better orchest system. A morxist system where everyone shares and things. But like I like the idea of, for instance, I also like the idea of things like being on the periphery. Excuse me, I have some loogies today. You, but what I really enjoy. Sorry, what I really enjoy uh is like the idea of an orc who is ultimately not really interested in fighting one particular group of like maybe is kind of like less interested in fighting humans or orcs because or humans or dwarves because he wants to go fight orcs and he wants to go fight chaos dwarves and he wants to go fight bad guys and maybe has like a little bit of a sense of honor. Like he doesn't really want to kill civilians because there's not even any sport in it. And like I like the idea of like orcs who kind of understand that sort of thing and can be kind of good boys. And Warhammer is expansive enough that you can make orcs who are goody boys or smarter boys or negotiatey type boys. Um, and I have my cities of Sigmar, which is not actually a city of Sigmar; it's a free city. And like part of the whole idea is that they're in the realm of Gur. They're in the realm of beasts, and like the city has lasted even through the age of chaos. By like constantly fighting and adapting to all of the big bad things happening, but also because they were willing to kind of work with or pay off like these orc and ogre tribes. They basically told the orcs, okay, we'll make better weapons for you and we'll supply you and stuff, and then you can have a better fight, not against us, but against the chaos hordes. And so basically, they have this kind of tenuous alliance with like the orcs around them and the ogres and things like that who are constantly fighting and feasting and doing all this other stuff. And they're like, okay, well, we don't want to destroy the city because the city provides us with materials and they provide us with good weapons and they provide us with good stuff. And I feel like even a maybe somewhat dim-witted orc would understand that, like, if there's better fighting to be had against the hordes and hordes of chaos, then why would you bother with the city? And the whole idea is that the city is not necessarily always been doing the greatest. Like there were certain parts of the age where they were really kind of down bad, and chaos was getting into the city, or like there's like a whole underground thing where there's lots of where for a while there they had to deal with a lot of Skaven, but now they're doing pretty well. And I like doing stuff like that. I like doing stuff where it's like, oh, okay, these orcs are like kind of like mercenaries. They can understand that, or like in 40K, I had this whole thing where like the tribe of orcs I had, or the clan of orcs I had, just has an abnormally large amount of weird boys and psychers, and they've kind of come to determine that if chaos ever wins, or if the Tyranids ever win, or if certain other things ever win, then all of the wars, all the really good wars, are gonna have to stop because the biggest enemies and threats, once they devour or destroy everything, it's like then you only have one type of fighting you can be able to do, or because it's just gonna be like orcs and chaos or orcs and Tyranids, and they want it to be more diverse and more fun. So they kind of occasionally help out humans and they occasionally help out the Imperium and stuff like that because they don't think that the Imperium is the best fighting. They think the Imperium can be good fighting, but they think that the Imperium, sticking around is ultimately a better thing because you can fight the Imperium, but if you let the Imperium get completely wiped out, then it doesn't work. And humies as they call them, they realize, for instance, that humies take a while to grow into big, better fighters. So you have to so they're almost willing to like defend civilian populations because they want the civilian populations to get bigger and better fighters. They want them to produce space marines. They want them to produce um, more warriors and stuff so they can fight them as well. So they don't really want the Imperium to fail. They think that ultimately the Imperium being around is much better for like having laws and stuff like that. And in Age of Sigmar, that's kind of the same way I'm kind of doing my orc warbands. Is like, yeah, they ultimately they want bigger fighting, they want more fighting. They don't want to actually completely conquer or destroy anything. They want to get their own land, have their own places where they can raise warbands, and then just like keep going out. Like they don't want to completely destroy humies or anything like that. They want to fight chaos. They want to fight all kinds of other things. So they want to sort of let them become a thing. So they have these like special war bosses and shamans, or case of 40K war bosses and shamans are weird boys and mechs, and they're all kind of doing this stuff. And in the 40K version, I had them like really stealing a lot of Imperial and Tau and technology to try and experiment and make better Deca with it. So that's a lot of fun. That's another thing that's really great about orcs is that you have a lot of customization options. So you can really go ham in the customization options. But yeah, so these uh and in fantasy there's a little bit less of that, but you can still have a lot of things like that. And I something I like is, yeah, the idea of just orc mercenaries. who realize that they can get better and better equipment, and eventually, like they can get some good smashing in, and they'll fight alongside orcs, they'll fight alongside humans, they'll fight alongside anybody really. But their favorite thing to smash is chaos, the spiky boys. You know, and that's been a lot of fun. And orcs are also fun. I like that they're just kind of a little bit silly, so that you can do some silly things with them. I always like the idea of, for instance, like an orc like this boar hugger here has a lot of goblin friends, and they always like to sit around and like play little games together and bullshit and talk to each other and all kinds of stuff like that. And I think that's a lot of fun. And on the more lore bendy side of it, maybe I would make some orcs that would actually worship Ma Kali, and then they get like their big powers, or like something similar, like basically to Ma Kali. And they get their powers from her, and then they like run in and smash chaos in particular, and they want to go on the great cosmic war instead of just like this little normal world war. They become the best warriors, and they learn how to meditate and stuff like that, and they do it just like 'cause they see it as like an internal war with themselves and silly things like that, and I really really enjoy that. And the orc aesthetic is just kind of fun to me. Just I really enjoy the old boys models from Warhammer Fantasy. I don't know how I feel about some of the newer boys for 40K. Specifically, I don't know because the new kit doesn't seem like it has a lot of options, and it seems like you're kind of basically gonna have to make like I think four Shootas and five Choppa boys, which is really weird. Which to me implies that you would need to buy multiple kits to have a full regular sized orc warband, which I mean you kind of need to do anyway because your minimum size mob that I think makes sense if you're gonna get just some regular boys is probably like 20. I think you can do smaller, but yeah. Oh, that's another thing I really like about 40K orgs in particular. I like that there's like storm boys who like their idea of being rebellious is being like really orderly and stuff like that. And I was kind of thinking about doing that with my Warhammer Fantasy orcs, where like maybe Boar Hugger here becomes a war boss, but his idea of being like a rebellious war boss is that everything gets like orderly and that they march like an actual army and that they have like actual training and tactics. And I think that's kind of funny because that's another thing. When orcs are organized and move with tactics and things like that, they are incredibly deadly. I mean, they're always incredibly deadly, but like it's kind of fun to mix that savagery with like actual tactics and things like that and mix the two together. I think that's really cool. Um, I also like the idea of just like the kind of casual orkiness of like two friends. Just like I like the idea of two orcs just walking up to each other and just having like a casual conversation. What is it with them boys who always use two choppers? Why don't they use a chopper and a shield? Something silly like that. Chopper and shield, because two choppers, more chop, more swinging, more hitting. But it's like, no, no, no. It's more swinging, more hitting, but then you get hits easier. And you can't do more hitting if you did. If you did? No, I'm just imagining a bunch of New Zealand orcs, and that's kind of funny to me as well. But no, and just like the primal nature of like fire and things like that. Like things like this is just kind of neat. Although I don't know why they brought in so much mud and then just piled it up like that. It's kind of weird, but it's okay. They needed to grow mushrooms and other things. So yeah, I enjoy this sort of destructive nature of orcs, but I like tempering it with like other values and things, and I like the idea of like a war boss that's smart enough to know like what not to indulge in and what to indulge in and how to get his boys in line. So I don't know. I really enjoy a lot of those aspects of orcs. I really enjoy um smashing the enemy, getting more chabas. But I also really enjoy orcs kind of, I guess you might call it their ingenuity. Can I can I give you guys some teeth or something? I would really like to. I would give you guys a couple of teeth. Yeah, it doesn't seem to give me the option to give them teeth. But yeah, that's kind of one of my favorite things about um orcs. And I also like orcs and like in the idea of like an orc working with dark elves as they're trying really hard to there are dark elves are trying really hard to be all like mischievous and like but then the orcs is like, but when do we chop? But when do we chop? But when do we chop? But when do we decker? But when do we decker and chop? Decker chop, decker chop. I don't know. I just really like that aspect because orcs are great. Orcs are great and they're great fun, and I like making my good orcs or my orcs that are at least nicer and help my free city or, worship my goddess and smack chaos, because why not? Why not do that? Why not go into unique, weird realms with, ooh, he's got a little bench. That's a nice bench you have there, sir. I hope you get some decent rest. There's also a lot of goblins laying around here in like certain areas where they're just like taking naps, and I think that's really cool. I like goblin naps. I've also just kind of enjoyed running around this Karak 8 Peaks and going through everything and just being an orc. So yeah, that's just some of the stuff I really like about being orcs. I like the kind of savage nature of it. I like the kind of primal nature of it, but I also like subverting it by making it a little bit more orderly with things like storm boys or like black orcs and things like that. And I like that you have those options. And I also like the idea of like being a big Iron Jaws war boss, basically working for a free city so that you can go do some more chaos smacking. That's the best. Because chaos smacking and stabbing, that's my favorite. Mmm, chaos smack. Although I wouldn't smack too many Skaven just because they're little and they don't provide the good wah. Actually, they might provide good wah because they can make monsters and stuff. Hmm, that's a crumpin. That's a worth a crumpin. Mmm, delicious. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed me talking about why I love orcs. I have more videos in mind about why I love orcs and destruction in general, and ogres and things like that. And I'll probably release those at a later date. And I might also release a video talking about like my actual boar hugger here has like actual lore in my head behind him and things like that. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that when it comes out. Anyway, I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful day and enjoy my kitty cat talks. And yeah, I hope you're all having a God blessed day. Thank you. Bye bye. Wait, there we go.